SelfOS. Awareness is power.
Let me ask you something. And I need you to be honest. Not podcast honest, where you've already figured out the lesson before you tell the story. Actually, honest. When's the last time you called yourself lazy? Because I'll go first. This morning, I'm not even kidding. This morning, I looked at the list of things that needed to get done. And I want to be clear. This is not a long list. This is a completely manageable list of normal adult human being things. And I went, nope. Phone. We're doing phone today. And then I sat there with the phone, scrolling through the things that didn't matter, watching videos of people doing things I'm not doing. And the whole time, that hum is going in the background. You know the hum. I should be doing something. I should be doing something. I should really be doing something. And I didn't move. And at some point, I put the phone down and I went, I'm just lazy. And here's the thing. I make a podcast about patterns, about awareness, about interrupting the thing before it runs. I know what patterns look like. I know how to see them. And I still sat on that couch and called it laziness. So either I'm a complete hypocrite, which is possible, I'm not ruling it out, or something else is going on. And I've been thinking about it, and I think I know what it is. It's not laziness. It's avoidance. And avoidance and laziness look identical from the outside. They feel similar from the inside, but they are not the same thing, not even close. Because real laziness doesn't come with a hum. It doesn't have a soundtrack. It doesn't know what needs doing and not do it. Lazy just doesn't. Without the weight, without the awareness, without the specific guilt about the specific thing, that's not what's happening on that couch. What's happening on that couch is precision. You are avoiding something specific with complete accuracy without even knowing you're doing it. And until you understand what that something is, you're going to keep sitting there, scrolling, feeling the hum, calling it laziness, and wondering why nothing changes. That's what this episode is. And I'll tell you something else. I don't have this one completely figured out yet. I'm still working on it. So this isn't me on the other side of something telling you how it's done. This is me in it with you. And I think that's actually more useful than a lesson, because at least you know I'm not lying to you.
Ever notice how the task isn't that hard until you try to start it? And somehow checking your phone feels easier than taking the first step. Not because you don't care, because part of you cares so much. It would rather wait than do it imperfectly. There's a guide and reflection designed by SelfOS. It's called Pause Before You React. 6 questions, 1 clear response. A way to see what you're avoiding before you call it laziness. The link is in the show notes. You're here. Episode 14. not lazy.
So let's actually look at what this is. Because I've been sitting with this for a while, and I want to be upfront. I don't have a clean answer for you at the end. I have a perspective, and I have a lot of personal evidence. Maybe that's more useful anyway, because a clean answer implies I know where the stairs are, and I'm still looking for the building. Here's what I know. Real laziness is general. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't pick and choose. The lazy person isn't selectively unmotivated. They're just across the board not moved by things. No hum, no guilt, no awareness of the gap. That is not a person on the couch with the hum. That is not you. And if I'm being completely honest, that's not me either. Because I can be completely useless about certain things and completely relentless about others. And that inconsistency used to confuse me. If I can work 14 hours straight on something I care about, why can't I make a single phone call I've been putting off for 3 weeks? What is that actual mechanism? And here's what I found out. It's not about motivation. It's not about discipline. It's not about energy. It's about what the thing means. The things you avoid, the specific ones, the ones that have been sitting there, they mean something. Something you haven't been willing to deal with yet. And the avoidance isn't random. It isn't weakness. It is your brain doing exactly what it was built to do. Protecting you from something that feels threatening, even if the threat isn't real. And here's the part that gets me every time. Because I've lived this with the anger thing. I spent years being the guy who reacted, who got loud. I knew it. I could see it. And I didn't do anything about it for the longest time. I used to tell myself it was because I didn't know how to fix it. But that wasn't true. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I just wasn't ready to deal with what changing it would mean. Because if I stopped being the angry guy, who was I? And it was easier to stay in the pattern than to face it. So I called it something else. I called it just how I am. I called it honesty. I called it a lot of things that let me keep running it without having to look. And now I'm doing the exact same thing with this. With the couch and the phone and the list. I'm calling it lazy because lazy is easier than asking. What is it about that specific thing that I keep not doing? What am I actually protecting myself from? Those are uncomfortable questions. Way more uncomfortable than just going, yeah, I'm lazy. Oh well, moving on. Lazy is a story. It explains the behavior without examining it. And as long as the story holds, you never have to look underneath it. Now here's where it gets interesting. And by interesting, I mean slightly uncomfortable. If this was real laziness, it would show up everywhere. But it doesn't. It shows up in one place. Which means this isn't general. This is specific. You can move all day, handle everything, stay busy, do everything that doesn't make you uncomfortable, and still avoid the one thing that would actually matter. That's not laziness. That's precision. You already have motivation. You use it constantly. You just don't use it there. You don't avoid what you don't care about. You avoid what matters too much to risk. And I'll tell you what my specific is right now with the house stuff, with the list. I think it's connected to competence. I think there's something in me that doesn't want to start because I don't know if I can do it well. And I'd rather not start than start and not do it right. Which is insane when I say it out loud. The fear of being incompetent at something happening in my own house where nobody's even watching, which when I put it that way is honestly hilarious, but also very real. Because here's what the research actually says, and I find this fascinating. The people who avoid tasks the most, the ones who look the most lazy from the outside, are often the ones who care the most deeply about doing it well. The avoidance isn't indifference, it's overinvestment. They want to do it so well that the risk of doing it imperfectly becomes unbearable. So they don't start. Because not starting is safer than starting and finding out you can't do it the way you wanted to. And there's another mechanism underneath that. People without knowing it don't start things, so they have a built-in excuse if they fail. If I never try, I can't be judged on the result. The avoidance becomes protection of the version of yourself you want to believe exists, the version that could do it right, if it ever got around to it. You're not protecting yourself from the task, you're protecting your belief in your own potential. Which would be sweet if it wasn't costing you everything. And when you do look underneath it, when you actually look, you find something specific. Not a general character flaw, not a fundamental brokenness. Something specific, a fear, a belief, a thing that taught you this particular thing is dangerous to engage with. And specific things can be dealt with. General character flaws are dead ends. You can't get traction on a wall. But specific you can work with. And here's what I want to leave you with before the track. The hum isn't a sign of failure. The hum is the signal that the thing matters. You're not broken. You're not undisciplined. You're not lazy. You're protecting yourself from something. And until you know what the something is, you're going to keep sitting there, scrolling, feeling the hum, calling it laziness, wondering why nothing changes. The track is going to hold you inside that, not the task, the moment before you move past it. Don't try to fix anything in it. Just stay in the moment. The one you keep moving past. Let yourself actually be in it. That's enough.
Just notice it. Don't move. That feeling. Right there. Before you move past it. You felt it today. You know where. You know when. Stay there. Just for a second. Don't fix it. That moment. Before you shift. Before you distract. Before you move. That's it. That's the place. You don't avoid what you don't see. You avoid what you understand. That's why it stays. That's why it follows you. You call it lazy because that's easier. But this isn't general. This is one thing, one decision, one move you keep not making. You move all day, stay busy, do everything else, and still you move past it. That's why it feels off. Because you're not doing nothing. You're doing everything else. Just not that. And every time you feel it, that pull, you don't stay, you move. It waits, right where you left it. It's not asking for effort. It's asking for something else. You already know what that is. You already felt it. You're not lazy. You're avoiding something.
Okay. Take a breath. Whatever came up in that track, whatever specific thing showed up in the silence, don't analyze it. Not yet. Don't turn it into a project. Just let it be there for a second. Because we're going to talk about it. And then I'm going to tell you what's been working for me. Not what worked, what's working. Present tense, because I'm still in this. And I think that's more useful than a lesson from someone who's already on the other side. So let's go. Here's the first thing I want to say. And I want to say it clearly because I think it's the most important thing in this episode. Calling yourself lazy makes it worse. I know that sounds backwards. How does the word make the behavior worse? But here's what's actually happening. When you call yourself lazy, you generate shame, real shame, the kind that sits on your chest. That makes you feel like the problem isn't what you're doing or not doing. The problem is you. Fundamentally, at the core, just broken, just lazy, just this is who you are. And shame does not motivate. I know we think it does. I know we think if we just feel bad enough, we'll finally get up and do it. But that's not how shame works. Shame paralyzes. Shame makes you feel like action is pointless because the problem is you. And when the problem is you, not the pattern, not the avoidance, not the specific thing underneath it, but just you. Why would you bother trying? You're just lazy. And you pick up the phone and scroll for another hour and feel worse. And the shame gets heavier and the cycle keeps running. That's the trap. The label is the trap. So the actual first thing is to retire the word. Not as a kindness, as a precision thing. Because as long as you're calling it laziness, you're solving the wrong problem forever. Now let's talk about what's actually happening. Because once you understand the mechanism, it stops feeling like a character flaw and starts feeling like something you can work with. The part of your brain responsible for starting things gets overwhelmed when a task is associated with negative emotion. Not danger, not pain, just emotional discomfort. The anticipation of something that might feel bad, the possibility of failure. And when the brain perceives that kind of threat, and it is a threat, the brain treats it exactly like a threat. It reaches for avoidance. The phone is always right there. The couch is always right there. And the brain goes, yes, that. Let's do that instead. And you end up on the couch wondering, what's wrong with you? Nothing is wrong with you. Your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. The problem is that it's protecting you from something that isn't actually dangerous. And the thing it's protecting you from just sits there, getting more loaded every day you don't touch it, getting more threatening, more impossible feeling, because avoidance doesn't shrink the thing. Every day you don't touch it, it gets a little bigger in your head, a little more like a wall, a little more like something that requires a version of you that doesn't exist yet. And that version never shows up because the avoidance keeps it from having to. And here's the piece that really changed something for me. Your awareness is always somewhere. Right now, it's here on this. Earlier today, mine was on the phone. And the thing about awareness is, when you're not directing it intentionally, it moves toward ease. Every time. Without exception. That's not a character flaw. That's how energy works. Water does it. Electricity does it. Your attention does it. And the phone and the couch are always going to win that competition unless you're actively, deliberately directing your awareness somewhere else. You're not lazy. You're letting your environment choose where your energy goes. And your environment always chooses ease, always, without exception. Because that's what environments do. So what do you actually do with that? Because I can explain the mechanism all day and it doesn't move the list. So let me tell you what's actually been working for me. And I want to say this again. Working, present tense, not solved, not conquered, working. I stopped trying to do the list. The list is the enemy. I kind of mean that literally. Because the list looks at me and I look at the list and something in me goes, no, too much. Not today. So instead, and this is embarrassingly simple, I picked one thing, the smallest possible version of one thing. Not to finish it, not to do it perfectly, just to put my awareness on it deliberately for a little while, to move toward it instead of away from it. Because here's what happens when you avoid something. The distance between you and the thing grows in your head. The task that was probably manageable starts to look like something that requires a completely different version of you. But that's the lie. The gap isn't as wide as it looks from the couch. The only way to prove that is to move toward it just a little, just enough to see that you can. One thing, the smallest version, no grade, no judgment, just the thing, just once, just to move the awareness there deliberately. That's the whole move. Now I want to bring it back to the anger. Because I think this is important for the people sitting there going, okay, but will this actually work? And here's my answer, the actual answer. I was the angry guy for a long time. The first language, the car, the race to nowhere. We talked about all of that. And for a long time, I called it just how I am instead of looking at what was underneath it. And then I started doing the thing. Not perfectly, not all at once. I started catching it, naming it, moving toward the discomfort of looking at it instead of away from it. And over time, a long time, more imperfect than I would have liked, it changed. The gap between the trigger and the reaction got shorter. I'm not done. I still catch it sometimes. But the relationship, that's different. That's what's available with the lazy, right? With the avoidance, with the specific thing that's been sitting there. Not a transformation, not a breakthrough, just a different relationship over time. Built one small deliberate move at a time. Here's something I've been sitting with. And I want to say it carefully because it sounds bigger than I mean it to be. But I think it's true. The avoidance, the thing you keep walking past, the story you keep telling yourself about why, it's running in a closed system. Your closed system. And closed systems don't get outside information. They just keep generating the same signal. The hum that says something matters. The avoidance says it's safer not to look. The story says lazy. And the story confirms itself because you never look underneath it to find out if it's actually true. That's not a character flaw. That's just what a closed system does. It runs what it knows over and over without new information getting in. And the only way to open the system, the only way to get actual information instead of just the signal you've been generating is to look at the thing, not the story about the thing itself, what it actually is, what's actually underneath it. That's what this episode is trying to do. Open a window in your system, just enough to let something real get in, just enough to see what's actually running, instead of just being inside it wondering why nothing changes. And here's the last thing I want to say. The hum, that specific sound running underneath everything when you're on the couch and the list is there and you're not doing it. I should be doing something. I should be doing something. I should really be doing something. That hum is not your enemy. That hum is the part of you that cares, that knows what needs doing, that hasn't given up even when the rest of you has checked out. Lazy is quiet. Lazy doesn't care. Lazy doesn't hum. Lazy just is. Without the weight, without the awareness, without the guilt, you have the guilt, which means you have the caring, which means the capacity is there. You're not lazy. You never were. You're someone who cares deeply about something they haven't been able to move toward yet, because something specific is in the way. And now you know what that something is. And now you have one thing to do about it. Not the list, one thing, the smallest version, just to prove to yourself you can close the distance. That's it. That's the whole move. And I'll be doing the same thing right alongside you. Probably failing at it some days, succeeding at it at others. Catching myself on the couch with the phone more times than I'd like to admit, but moving slowly, imperfectly, in the direction of the thing instead of away from it. That's all this is. That's all any of it is.
The thing is still there. It'll be there tomorrow. And that's okay. Because so will you. And tomorrow you're going to pick one small thing. The smallest version. And you're going to move toward it instead of away from it. Not to finish it. Not to do it perfectly. Just to prove to yourself you can close the distance. You're not lazy. You're avoiding something. And now you know what that something is. And a thing you can name. You can work with. The hum isn't failure. The hum is the part of you that never stopped caring. That's not nothing. That's everything. And there's a window open now that wasn't there before. Just enough to see what's actually running. That's where it starts. SelfOS. Episode 14. Sub-bass halts. Lighter now, still present. 15 seconds of stillness. The thing is still there. But you're not running from it anymore. And a window is open. Silence.
This was a production of SelfOS. Awareness is power.